Okay, let's continue our discussion of the education of Augie Merasty and look at chapter 9 titled Revenge. First question here is, what is the lesson that Sister Mercy tries to teach Augie with the candle? So this chapter opens up with Sister Saint Mercy trying to teach Augie a lesson, and she takes a candle and puts his hand over the candle, and then she says, you don't like fire or heat. Well, hell is a lot hotter than this. Better smarten up. So she's threatening Augie as a way, sort of trying to show him that if he doesn't behave, if he doesn't do what he's told, if he doesn't obey the rules, if he's disobedient or doesn't listen, he's going to end up in hell or purgatory. And this candle burning is kind of a symbolic way that she's trying to send this message to him that he's going to burn in hell if he's not if he doesn't listen or obey the rules of this school. So again, another very harsh lesson, and she is herself very cruel and inhumane in her punishments of the boys, as we've seen. The boys, Augie, decide to take some revenge on Sister Mercy, and they play some pranks on her. So they're able to disobey her by talking Cree, and whenever they would talk Cree, she wouldn't understand. So this was kind of their way to rebel or go against the rules by using their own language, and then making these secret plans or pranks that they would pull on her. And then in this case, they go sledding, and they are planning to dump her off the sled and into the river. But she gets stuck in the ice and they have to pull her out. So their prank doesn't really culminate in her drowning or anything like that, but it was a deliberate act that they were trying to get back at her for all her abuse and punishment. And this was their way of doing it as teenage boys. Another one was when they put carpet tacks on her chair, and then when she sits down, she sat right down on top of carpet tacks, and this was another one of the pranks that the teenage boys would pull on this nun who was very cruel to them. They laughed about it, and then he talks about how some of the other instructors, the fathers and brothers, also laughed about this prank that they pulled on her. So this was like just a couple of pranks that they pulled as a way to kind of give revenge against the particularly cruel or harsh punishments that were doled out by this Sister Mercy. He then talks about a more serious instance when he reunites or meets as an adult Brother Leagne, who we know from previous chapter abused him. So he talks a little bit about Brother Leagne. He says, who from childhood must have been dedicated to preserve the French culture and to be supreme over his underlings, the lower classes, people whom he treated as his possessions. He managed to hurt us boys as much as he wanted, and he got away with hardly any retribution of any kind of payback. Brother Leagne did things that in this age he would be jailed for, and for a long time. So he talks a little bit about Brother Leagne as somebody who had this an ideology that was all about preserving French culture and viewed the white French people as supreme, as superior, and he had this mentality that other people, in this case the students, the First Nation students, were his underlings, lower class and treated as if they were his possessions. So he's obviously trying, it's evident that he has very racist views and objectifies the children as his objects, possessions that he owns, and that's part of how we see him treat the children. But Augie acknowledges that Brother Lepain is eventually leaves the school under some defamation of his reputation. It's unclear whether he was kicked out of the school or if there were complaints against him, but it seems as if he had a very low profile by the time he left the school and kind of just disappeared and was under the radar, and left maybe with some disgrace on his name for all of the abuse that he inflicted on the children. Augie tells the anecdote when he was 8 years old, Brother Lepain took them to a beach and held him underwater against his will, and he didn't know how to swim, so he was, again, another act of kind of just lording his power over the children, treating them as objects and with very little regard for their lives, their well-being. Augie's dad witnesses this adult man, holding children under the water who can't swim. And Augie's dad comes up to Lepain and does the same to him as he's doing to the children, and takes him by the neck and holds Lepain underwater for 15 seconds. So Augie's dad not very happy at that moment with the way his child is being treated by this man. And then Augie will also tell the story of when he has left the school. So after he left residential school, he was 17 or 18 years old, and he ran into Brother Lepain in the Pas. Excuse me. And Augie had, he's an adult at this time, 17 or 18 at least, older. He's in good shape, so he talks about how he was in the best shape of his life, and he was strong from all of the athletic activities he was in. And he and his friend Jason Deschambault wanted to teach Brother Lepain a lesson when they see him. So they take Lepain by the scruff of his neck and take him to an abandoned building where they beat him up, rough him up, and then make Brother Lepain believe that they're going to do worse, that they're going to kill him. So they kind of want or lead him to believe that they're going to kill him for what he's done. So they're talking in Cree and just trying to, telling themselves that they're just joking, that this is just, let's go along with this and scare him. But they lead Brother Lepain to believe that they're going to kill him, and so he has to beg for his life. And then at the end, we don't really get the full story. It's kind of a cliffhanger, open-ended narrative where Brother Lepain is begging for his life, and he says he's begging for mercy, and he says, "You boys are Roman Catholics. You know you should not kill. It's the 5th commandment of God." So he's trying to use their Catholic education as a kind of way to justify or convince them that they shouldn't sin, that killing is a sin and they shouldn't kill him. And then Augie says, "Oh yes, I said, but you didn't remember any commandments of God when you tortured us for almost 5 years." And then the story cuts off right there. So it's kind of this open-ended narrative where we don't know what happens next. Does Augie and Jason, do they beat him up? Do they leave him? Do they kill him? We don't really know. But actually, Augie's daughter, Arlene, has talked about this story and kind of filled in the blanks and explained that, yeah, they just sort of like poured a Mickey down his throat, roughed him up, and then left him there. But I think, Augie's acknowledging in this scene that, Brother Lepain, who took an oath who he speaks about, following the commandments of God, and he, was a complete hypocrite and completely immoral, and tortured children, objectified them, and abused them sexually and psychologically and physically for almost 5 years, and he was nothing but a hypocrite. So this was a little bit of revenge, but again, you can't fully. They couldn't. They can't even be as cruel as he was to them. Because you can't. There is no sort of retribution harsh enough for a man who does what he did to them. But yeah, you get this little glimpse of how Augie held on to that pain and that suffering that he went through, and it never left him. So when he saw him again, he needed to at least get that part of it out of his system, to confront him after all these years with what he did.